Right, I held off on one of these super chats. It's from Jonas, and he says that CNBC article
Jonas!
is a thing of beauty. May its first child be a
masculine
child.
child.
And the reason why I held off on that is because that is our next topic.
Luca Brasi.
So do either of you want to give us a quick rundown of what this is?
Oh my gosh, this is something we don't have the time for to go through the whole thing. It's one of those things that this is the thing of beauty that we've been waiting for a long time. This confirms a lot of the rumors that we've all reported on. This confirms a lot of stuff that has been whispered about. This is one of the most scathing reviews Disney could have ever gotten at this point. And I've said it yesterday. I don't think this would have come out 90 days ago. If the strike wasn't happening right now, I don't think these birdies would be singing like this.
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag of things happening here, but what you learn basically is that Iger never left. He's an egotistical maniac. Chapek was more or less a pawn in this game that they were playing, and they're losing it. Culture. I'm sure you've gone through this article with a finer tooth comb than I have. Yeah.
No, you're killing it.
There's a hippo involved in this.
They send him to pet the hippo.
A shower.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because all of that was true. He never left his office. That's all true. That's stuff that was, reported by all those of us in this, in this area. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, it like I said, it goes to show that you're oftentimes your YouTube folks are spot on.
And we have the first, and here he is, the man himself. But perfect timing, because as I was going to say, we have the first public speaking, or Chapek for the first time speaking publicly about this thing. Yeah. And he said it's about 3 years of hell.
Absolutely amazing. Well, okay, so the only thing I have to say here is that statement came second or third hand.
It was from a conference he was at, yeah.
Right, and then the public statement. Bob Chapek is the only person of record on this article. Everyone else is. Michael Eisner declined to comment. Bob Iger declined to comment. Dana Walden declined to comment. It's funny, there's a statement about Bob Iger's wife that does not have right under it. Willow Bay refused to comment. The guy says he's got 20 to 25 executive sources in and around the Walt Disney Company here. I don't understand how this got made. So this shows an indictment of not just Bob Chapek, but also Bob Iger.
Sounds like they're done with Iger.
More so Iger, speaking. Yeah. Like they try to paint Bob bad in this. Like, and some of this I can give. Here's the thing. What Bob was trying to do is what set everybody off, and that was give more power to us through basically putting the people who are in charge of distribution and merchandise as far as who decides what is going to be made and go out there. The creatives didn't like that. So that's why they revolted against Chapek. So what he gets called out for here is when he was supposed to be at some meetings, I guess, he was actually petting a hippo to appear more likable. Because you got to remember, people were hating him so badly. So I think he was set up there, to be honest with you. But the rest of this is all on Iger, right? He even is so egotistical that he had a poster, as you see right there, of the Clint Eastwood film, The Iger Sanction, that was personalized with his own name instead on the poster.
Oh my God. Well, it's funny, yeah. According to CNBC, the Disney board suggested that Chapek take over Iger's expansive office. But Iger loved the office's private shower and wasn't interested in moving. The Bobs agreed that Iger could stay. Why? He's left. And Chapek moved into a smaller office on the same floor.
Oh,
what an arsehole.
Oh, okay. So here's the thing. This article makes it crystal clear that Bob Chapek, sorry, I'm going to get the Bobs mixed up. Big Bob, as he referred to himself, and Little Bob, as he referred to Bob Chapek. Big Bob considered himself as chairman of the board to be the person in charge of the entire Walt Disney Company, and Little Bob, the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, to be his lieutenant, his underling, the guy who would go do the things that he told him to do. So Bob Iger never considered himself as leaving the Walt Disney Company.
Yeah, Iger stayed on. handling some CEO responsibilities. What on earth, man?
There's also
This
an
is
indication
insane.
that when he said he was coming back to work on content, that he never ran that by Bob Chapek. Bob Chapek found out about it the same time as everyone else.
Oh my God.
The man did not relinquish power until he was kind of forced to by the board. I'm really glad to say most of the examination in this space by our compatriots that Susan Arnold was a person that seemed to support Bob Chapek and to give him the best that she could manage to support him. That all of those calls that we made seem to be accurate, that she was a supporter of Bob Chapek and trying to give him everything he needed and trying to back off Bob Iger's ridiculous backstabbing. I mean, the tweet throwing Bob Chapek onto the bus, it didn't say Bob Chapek on it, but in the middle of all of this drama, Iger publicly tweets against Chapek policy and encourages employees of the Walt Disney Company to let their voices be known.
Because notice that was the one thing I didn't hear. You're right. Sorry, Jonas. I just got to say that was one thing that at least from, because I haven't read the entire extensive CNBC thing yet, but they haven't said shit about the whole "don't say gay" thing that happened, right? So that's one thing that none of the people they talked to wanted to talk about at all. It seems like, because they're the ones who are to blame for that shit. But anyway, I just wanted to point that
and
out.
this summary here by W that I'm losing faith in this particular entity, WDWNT. They're more of an opinion blog now, this is an okay summary, but you really want to go through the entire.
There's a lot more than this. This is just a very brief overview. But the other thing that was funny was how they fired Chapek. I love that Christina Shacky and EVP of Investor Relations Alexia Esquadriana were known as mean girls, and he called people who had a negative view of Disney's future as Eeyores. See, that's the thing. He was dealing with a lot of Eeyores who were like freaking out on him. But correct me if I'm wrong, Culture. He had Disney at one point there was at their best they had been in a long time for stock.
Yes.
Well, I mean, he turned the table or turned the corner on stuff. I mean, there's a lot going on here. I don't know, Jonas. What is your perspective? Because I mean, you and I both kind of approach this a little bit more from the business side of this stuff.
Well, there's two things that are true. Bob Chapek was not prepared to be the CEO of the Walt Disney Company when they named him, and they had given him some indication he was going to be interviewed by every member of the board whenever that happened back in 2017. In 2020, at the end of Bob Iger's, I don't know, 4th or 5th renewal finally ended, they just said, by the way, you're the CEO now. So that vetting process did not happen. Now, that being said, Iger undercut him at almost every instance. And a lot of the things that Iger is doing right now that seem to be his attempts to right the ship, like preparing to either spin off or modify ESPN in a big way or selling ABC. Those are all from the Bob Chapek playbook here. All of the things that he is doing to try to correct the company right now are Bob Chapek moves that would be made by a numbers person who is trying to make all the right calls to fix a problem. That being said, they still have not fixed the content problem, which if they never fix that problem, Disney's done.
This is insane. I can't believe. Oh, Bob Iger really liked that office. He wasn't going to move. I just can't. I can't get.
But he liked his second showers, Nate. You don't understand. Those are the days he lived for. That is a literal quote from the article.
Fuck. And then little Bob agreed to move into a smaller office on the same floor. So he is like imp, I guess.
Talk about
imp
like
CEO.
Just accepting wholeheartedly that you're being a patsy, that you're being set up as some sort of patsy. Like it feels like it's like, how can you not see that coming from a mile away?
Why would you even take it at that point? You learn that the CEO is going to stay there. Still,
even if you don't give a shit, Nate,
I'm good.
That's a power test. Is what that is. Yeah. That is a clear What he needed to do is say, no, Bob, you are done. This is my office
out.
now. Out. Whether he gave a shit or not, that's not the point. The moment he folded and said, yeah, no, that's no problem, Bob. That is the moment Bob Iger knew that this is the guy he needed because he's going to do whatever the fuck he wants.
Weird.
And then when they realized that he wasn't going to do exactly what they wanted, that's when everybody turned against him. That's what I was saying earlier, is that that's when you had the whole don't say gay thing. That's when you had the media and everybody going out against him going, oh my God, I can't believe he's taking away power from the creatives. And
Victoria
blah, 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 blah.
Alonso sitting him down, telling him that you need
Victoria
to do this,
Alonso. Yes. Oh my fucking God. That was an amazing video, right? Like of her out in public, in a public thing. I can't remember what it was for, but it was some
the Glad
event.
Media Awards.
The Glad Media Awards. Yeah, where she's talking shit on her own boss in front of cameras and a large audience.
What an absolute shit show Disney really
That would be like me coming out and saying some shit about Andre right now and not expecting him to fire me. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. What's been the stock reaction to this?
It's not been
I'm
good.
waiting for it to get to 75 and then I'm buying. It's down to 79 right now. It went below 80 today.
Because we comment on the stock price so much, I'm squeamish to say where I think it's going to go or where I would buy. But I see 70 in their future here, the way things are going.
Oh
right
shit,
now.
I'll buy for sure then.
Well, I'm setting their fair value at $72, so that's where I'm going to look at it. So
at 11:48 Eastern time here, they went down to $79.75. It's been
wow. I bet you the stock exchange right now is like Gremlins 2 when they're like sell.
It's back up to 80 now. I was in contact with Mexican Iron Man. He is out in California right now, and he's promised publicly that if the stock market closes below 80 for Disney, that he will actually go on property and request a meeting with Bob Iger on a live stream.
I am going to use somewhere at some point use the clip from Gremlins 2 where you got the brain gremlin going, things are rather brutal here. In fact, we've told all our clients to put everything in canned food and shotguns.
Oh my God.
Wow. They are done. This is the worst thing. This article is one of the reasons why it dropped so hard today. I guarantee it.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Guarantee it.
Right, that on top of the charter thing, which, by the way, the trades are not covering the CNBC article. The Hollywood trades have not touched any of this, despite you would think they would be very motivated to embarrass Bob Iger right now. So I'm a little confused as to why they're being so quiet. Meanwhile,
it's the same reason Fandango are putting out fake polls promoting promoting the Marvels as the most wanted to watch movie.
Because there's still money coming from Bob. That's why, yeah.
Well, in that when you said Fandango, I was thinking Rotten Tomatoes. See that Rotten Tomatoes thing? That's
what I'm saying. This is like the best time. Like I was been waiting for this, and I'm so happy about this. And I hope these strikes last even longer. Because guess what? The longer this lasts, the longer we're gonna get articles like this, and the Jimmy Fallon one, and the one about Rotten Tomatoes, and all this other stuff where people are just like, yeah, we have no incentive not to lie anymore. Like that's what I mean. I was giving you shit mostly, Nate, earlier about the whole Batman thing, but again, at the end of the day, it's getting to that point where people have no incentive to protect these fuckers anymore.
Yeah.
Especially when you got, I apologize for the language, but no, like, especially when you got Bob Iger saying we're going to starve them out.
Yeah. Well, a bunch of people have been evicted now from their homes. You see that?
Oh, that's horrible. And now I'm hearing rumors that the unity of the Writers Guild is, let's say it's in question in a way that it hasn't been before.
Yeah, lo and behold, the heads of the right. Yeah,
maybe they can get a payday loan to buy Hulu. You think? Bob Iger, that's last year's salary, basically. Maybe he can get a payday loan. You think?
I think you're talking about 20 million. Versus, I don't know. And now
there's a down payment at least.
I mean that $13 billion number that we were talking about before. That the minimum threshold is $9.3 billion. Yeah. I really want to know what that number is. And it sounds like the two of them, because the earliest that this transaction will go through is around October 30th, because at September 30th, either side can call the other and say, we're doing this. And they've got 30 days to complete the transaction.
And I think didn't
point.
Comcast president already insinuate that's what he's going to do?
He's got no reason not to. If he wants to fund all of his stuff, and
especially right now. Sorry to interrupt, Jonas, but you know what they're doing right now over at Comcast? They're dancing. Do you want to know why? Because they know that the more this stock goes down, the more stock they're either going to get in return, or the less it's going to be a value for them to use as some sort of leverage in this loan that they're going to have to get. Because let's be real here. Even though they said they had some money on that earnings call, we know damn well they got no money. If they had to produce the money right now to buy Hulu, they'd be effed. They'd be so screwed. And that's why I'm almost certain now they were desperately trying to get a deal with Amazon for ESPN so they could inject some cash, so they had that money on hand when they knew Comcast was going to come a-calling.
If they,
because otherwise, why would you want to make a deal with anybody else for ESPN? Because that's their only golden goose right now.
Right now, if they paid for it all in stock, which they're not going to do, and if it was the actual $23 billion, that would represent 16% of the Walt Disney Company right now, which is...
And I think that would cause even more issues then, wouldn't it? Because I don't think they can do that.
It would be three times the size of any shareholder of the Walt Disney Company right now. And we're talking the big ones.
They would have
the ones that are pushing certain agendas, you mean?
Exactly.
They would have a lot to say about the board members.
Which would actually probably be the best thing for them right now, because as the article seems to indicate, and we've kind of had this idea for a long time, Bob Iger hand-selected every single member of that board.
God. Well, hence why there's no vote of no confidence against them.
Yeah,
even though the whole thing is tanking down.
Which is why they almost lost their minds when Nelson Peltz got really close to getting an observership.
Yeah.
They made it very clear to the SEC, even though nobody publicly stated the words observership, they put in writing, in suspicious writing on this SEC filing, under no circumstances were the words observership used when referring to a position that Nelson Peltz may or may not have requested. I mean, guys, methinks you do protest too much.
Doth protest too much. Wow. It's going to be interesting to see what happens from this then, isn't it? This is interesting times ahead. This is the best writing we could have ever hoped for. I mean, this is better than what the writers are doing.
Oh yeah, this is
the best drama ever.
This is like a nuke.
For the best drama ever.
Even though Jonas is right that none of the big media is picking up on it yet, they will, because it's a slow news day. Eventually they'll get around to it. Eventually they'll get around to the rest of the stuff. It's like it's piling and piling and piling on Disney. And I know we've joked about this may even end with somebody getting hauled off in cuffs, but it's getting to that point now with some of this stuff that it's getting so bad for them that it may end in some form that way. We don't know. And what happens if things start getting real dicey and, we start to realize, oh yeah, they were setting up Chapek for something. And he's like, well, I ain't going to be your patsy now, finally, and he starts to speak up too, or somebody else does. Cause I'm sure they've made enough enemies at this point behind the scenes, especially with this article coming out like this, when you've got 20 some people that are cited in it.
25.
That means that the Magic Kingdom is not such a happy place right now.
I'll add two things that are that before the CNBC article, which is a thing of beauty, 12,000 words that I ate up every word of it. Disney hired a full-time crisis management team. And they finally hired, and they got a big gun lawyer. I forget her name. Laura Pertland, is that her name?
I think you're right.
From PayPal to be general counsel just for the parks and resorts. She does not report to Josh D'Amaro, who's the head of parks and resorts for the company. She reports directly to the chief legal counsel of the company. So he overrules her and reports to Bob Iger's team as opposed to the parks guys' team. So something is going to happen there in Florida, and something will happen resisting SIFTOD, the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District.
Going to lose.
Badly. Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. It's actually a really good arrangement, and the economic arrangement there for SIFTOD is actually good. And they're threatening them with a good time in a good economic environment. So Okay, boo-hoo.